Namaste. A very happy Deepavali to all of you viewers of Rasaranava. Rasaranava indeed takes pride and is very happy to be introducing the next artist in our Keerthi Vikathana series on this auspicious day of Balipadyami. The artist is none less than Vidwan Alepey Venkatesan Sir, who is the last direct disciple of the doyen of music, Vidwan Sri.Ariyakudi Ramanujan Iyengar. If Deepavali itself is a special occasion to bring out this episode, it also happens to be Sir's 72nd birthday, which makes it all the more special. As if this wasn't enough, this Navaratri marks the 60th year of Venkatesan Sir's stage performance, as he had his arangetram in music at the age of 12 in Alleppey. Just imagine, a person living for 60 years itself is a great achievement and is celebrated as Shashtyapta Purthi. What if the person is involved in a particular art form and has been performing it like a tapas for 60 years? It is a milestone to be commemorated and celebrated by all in the art fraternity. And we are happy that in this small way, we are also a part of the celebrations with Alepey Venkatesan Sir. This video was prepared in the Margali season last year and has thus been waiting for this particular occasion to see the light, and all of us can learn more about him by going through the video and also take his blessings for the field of music. Namaste. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Sriranga Mangalamanim Karunanivasam Shri Venkatadri Shikalalaya Kalameham Shri Hasti Shaila Shikharojvala Parijatam Shri Shenam Namami Shirasa Yadushaila Deepam. Hearty pranams and welcome to all of you viewers of Keerthi Vikathana. ಇಂದು ಎಂದಿನಂತೆ ಒಂದು ಕಲಿಕೆಯ ಪಯಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ನಾವು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಶನವನ್ನು ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿರುವಂತಹ ದಿನ ಶುಭವಾದ ಮಾರ್ಗಶೀರ್ಷ ಮಾಸ. ಮಾಸಾನಾಂ ಮಾರ್ಗಶೀರ್ಷೋಸ್ಮಿ ಅಂತ ಭಗವದ್ಗೀತೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣನೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಅದರೊಡನೆ ವೈಕುಂಠ ದ್ವಾರ ತೆರೆಯುವಂತಹ ದಿನ, ವೈಕುಂಠ ಏಕಾದಶಿಯ ದಿನ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅವನ 4 ತುಂಬಾ ಅಚ್ಚುಮೆಚ್ಚಿನ ಸ್ಥಳಗಳಾದ ಶ್ರೀರಂಗ, ತಿರುಪತಿ, ಹಸ್ತಿಗಿರಿ ಅಂಡ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲುಕೋಟೆ, 4 ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಆ ಭಗವಂತನಾದ ಮಹಾವಿಷ್ಣುವನ್ನ ಸ್ಮರಿಸ್ತಾ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ 2ನೆಯ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದು ತಿರುಪತಿ. ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಮನದೇವರು ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ ವೆಂಕಟರಮಣ. ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಸಂಗೀತ ಆಸಕ್ತರಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಮನೆ ದೇವರಂತೆ, ಗುರುವಿನಂತೆ, ಆದರ್ಶಪ್ರಾಯರಂತೆ ಇರುವಂತಹವರು ವೆಂಕಟೇಶನ್ ಮಹೋದಯರು, ಆರ್ಯರು ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮೊಡನೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. Alepey Venkatesan Sir is here with us today, and I deem it my good fortune that I have finally got to meet him. I was telling Sir that he was my YouTube hero. Today I have got to meet him in person, and it's a very satisfying moment for me. Sir, I welcome you to this wonderful event, and I thank you for having accepted to have a small talk with us today.
It's a pleasure to share music with young musicians who are so devoted to the art. So I'm happy to receive you.
Sir, can we start this interview with something auspicious?
Certainly. Sri Narada Samarambha Sri Thyagaraja Madhyama Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Parampara. I'll sing a portion of today's Tiruppavai as set to music by my great Guru, Sri.Ariyakudi Ramanujan Iyengar. Ose padda tayira bande pilayo. Ose padda tayira bande pilayo. Naya pen Narayanan Murti Nayagapan Narayanan Murti Nayagapan Narayanan Murti Nayagapan Narayanan Murti Keshavane Padavum Kete Kidariyo Keshavane Padavum Kete Kidariyo Keshavane Padavum Kete Kidariyo Tesambudaya Tiruvelo Rimbawa Keshu Anejatam Karande Keshu Keshu Anejatam Karande Pesina Pechayavum Ketilayo Vepini
That was a lovely Tiruppavai, and as Sir already said, we have to give as much credit to Shri Ramanujan Iyengar as much to Andal for having popularized them in the music circles and making it an integral part. And usually we know the drill that I say, we will ask the first question in your mother tongue or your home language, and then maybe in Kannada or Tamil is what we usually interact. But I have heard the saying Sarva Bhasha Saraswati, and your Panditya in any Bhasha is equally important, and Saraswati will accept it. Before talking about Sir's music, I am a very big fan of Sir's English. And he is particularly very good in English and equally fluent in Tamil. Of course, he would be in Malayalam. I had not heard his Malayalam though. So I requested him that for the first time, I usually say let's avoid English, but today I requested that we will do this interview in English. So That's a heads up for all of you. Sir, you started with this Tiruppavai of Andadi. How was it that all this came to be tuned by your Guru? Was there any particular incident that made him tune this?
There was. It was the Brahmacharya of Kanchi who expressed the wish that my Guru should set all the 30 Tiruppavais to music and popularize the tunes so that Tiruppavai will be heard in every home, not just as recitation but as music.
Yeah.
And Brahmacharya wanted to find the fit and proper person to undertake this sacred task, and the fit and proper person was at hand in the form of Sri-Ariyakudi Ramanujan Iyengar. He was the obvious choice, and then he undertook this project with all earnestness and reverence for His Holiness. And he did the arangetram for the 30 Tiruppavais in Uppiliappan temple in Kumbakonam. Sometime in the 1940s. He was publishing one Tiruppavai every week in the Sudeshamitra with notation in the 1940s. He made some changes as he went along. Some of the ragas were changed for some of the Tiruppavais and so on. It took final shape a few years later. In the early 60s, he gave two Tiruppavai concerts. Okay. One at the Mylapore Fine Arts Club, the other at the Pathasal Swami Sabha. 2 days. One Tiruppavai, 15 Tiruppavais from the first day, 15 on the second day. And nothing else. The entire concert consisted only of Tiruppavai with Ragam Nirval song about that. So then the final version of his Tiruppavai tunes had emerged with those two concerts, and that is what his disciples have been singing and teaching their disciples.
Wow.
So this is the version that I have recorded for TTD and also for DD Madurai for their archives.
Wow.
And my two students, Shruthi and Anirudh, did an online presentation of the 30 Tiruppavai sometime last year or the year before. And this particular Tiruppavai that we sang today at your request brought back another pleasant memory. When M S Amma was awarded the Magsaysay Award, there was a felicitation for her, hosted by Sri V Narayanaswamy. And all the great musicians of those times were invited to that function. And that is one of the occasions on which my great mentor Palghat Mani Iyer introduced me as his find to other great musicians and rasikas. So he introduced me to M S Amma. Samagri Mama already knew me. He introduced me to M S Amma and several other great musicians. And then each of us sang one song during the felicitation. All the musicians who had come, each of us sang one song. So I was asked to sing something. And I sang this Sahanapada that I taught them today.
Oh.
And then M S Amma requested me to sing one more. And I sang Keshu Keshu.
Oh, okay. Was that also the Margazhi month?
I don't quite remember.
Okay.
It was soon after the Magsaysay Award for
wow.
So Tiruppavai was one of the two great projects that my guru did in terms of tune smithy. The other was Arunachala's Rama.
How did that come along? How did that start, the Rama?
That he did on his own initiative. Similarly, he had been publishing one song every week in the Sudeshamitra over several years, the 30s and 40s. And he covered most of the important songs in the epic, covering the entire story, starting with Avataram and ending with the Shruthi, Mangalam and Shruthi, which he composed. Most of the important events in the epic were covered in his tunes.
And you started with a very interesting Mangala Shloka. I started with Sadashiva Samarabha. You started with a very interesting,
I adapted from that sloka which you recited.
Yeah.
I did this adaptation myself because I belong to one of the Shishya Paramparas of Thyagaraja. He had 5-6 Shishya Paramparas, you might be aware of that. Umyalpuram and Valajapet and 2-3 others. One of those was Manbuchadi. There was a disciple by name Manbuchadi Venkatesubbayya, who was a kinsman and one of his senior most disciples. His disciple was Patna Subramaniya, his disciple was Ramnath Srinivas Iyengar, his disciple was Sri.Ariyakudi Ramanujan Iyengar. So I am a 5th generation disciple in that parampara. Therefore, I said Thyagaraja Madhyama. And of course, it was to Narada that Bhagavan said, Naham vasami vaikunte na yogi hridiye ravo me bhakta yatra gayanti tatra tishtami Narada. So he was the one to whom the Lord declared that music is the highest form of worship. Therefore I said Sri Narada Samarambha, Sri Thyagaraja Madhyama, Aspadacharya Padyanta, Vande Guru Parampara. So this is what I recite very frequently in many of my public appearances.
And two things here. One is, of course, your parampara, how you got into this lineage. And the second thing is how you fluently quote from Tamil verses and Sanskrit verses in between your lectures, and they just come spontaneously into place. So all this is possible if you have a rich childhood.
True.
How was your childhood? Where did you grow up, sir?
I grew up in Alleppey, born and brought up there. For the first 17 years I was there. And my home was a beehive of musical activity. It was the undeclared headquarters of all the great musicians of the times. Not just those who came to Alleppey, those who came to Kerala. For all of them, our home in Alleppey was the headquarters. Whether it was Alepey Ramanujan Iyengar or Mr. Subramanian Iyer or Alathur Brothers, GNB, Semmangudi, Vidwan Alepey Iyer, all of them, Palghat Mani Iyer, Rajamani Kumbule, T.N. Krishnan, Dalgudi, anybody who came to those parts, they used to stay with us and then go to the concert. My father used to arrange for them to go to the concert.
Okay.
He used to host them. My father was one of the earliest disciples of Guru. My family has the distinction of having 2 Ariyakudi disciples.
Wow.
He did Gurukul Vasam when he was a student in Madura American College and Trichy National College in the 1920s. My father was 17 years old and Guru was 30 years old.
Okay.
And some 3 decades later, between 3 and 4 decades later, he took me as a disciple.
Oh wow.
So that is how it...
Your father's name, sir?
Parthasarathi, Alleppey Parthasarathi Iyengar. He was an advocate by profession, but he was also performing till he was 35 or thereabouts. Then he became very busy with his law practice and his philanthropic activities, so he discontinued. In fact, the first concert that Palghat Mani Iyer played in Alleppey at the age of 9, my father was the singer.
Oh, okay. Wow. And this childhood of yours, how many siblings were you? All of you are into music, or is it only you? And
no, I was
your father was the first guru?
Father was the first. There was one tutor in Alleppey, K. Ramasandra, who taught the early lessons. But it was father who introduced me to the Ariyakudi style, started grooming me in that style. Before the Guru himself took me under his wings. And he taught a lot of Ariyakudi repertoire, not only to me, but to T.N. Krishnan, many others he taught Ariyakudi repertoire. T.N. Krishnan was under his wings for 5 years, and He taught him how to play the fora, then took him to the Guru and asked him to patronize him. There were many others like that. So that was the atmosphere which gave me the initial advantage to be steeped in music from a very early age. Then I migrated to Madras because it is the capital of Carnatic music.
Okay.
I could have very well studied Vidwan Alepey.
There are two beautiful tamburas actually. So can you please tell us the story of both tamburas?
This one was bequeathed to me by my Guru on his deathbed, January 1967.
Wow.
He told one of his disciples, Gopal Iyengar, who was with him in the last days, because I saw him 2 weeks before he passed away. Then I went back to Alleppey, and 23rd of January he passed away. 2 days before that he told Gopal Iyengar that tambura should be given to me, and that tambura came to me along with all his notebooks written in Grantha script when he was doing Gurukula Vasamantra, which is Shri Venkatesan.
Oh wow.
All of those treasures came to me. And the other tambura used to belong to Aile Maharaja of Paranko. Was sometime 1850s, 1860s was the king. He gave it to Ramaswamy Bhagavatar, his court musician, who in turn gave it to Gopala Bhagavatar, who was my father's first tutor. He gave it to my father. So ever since that, tambura has been in our family.
Oh wow. And along with the two tamburas, this one small Shruthi box.
That is something that my great mentor Palghat Mani Iyer used to use with 8 Shruthis. For the different Shruthis for which he played. All those Shruthis are available in that one Shruthi box, which he used to use for tuning the brother.
Wow. Beautiful. And till 17, I think you would have had a the richest childhood in terms of Carnatic music.
Definitely.
Do you remember any incidents that immediately strike you?
Oh yes, there are many.
Please.
One morning my Guru was relaxing in the easy chair. Krishnan foodlet in virtual Dardi. T.N. Krishnan was staying with us. Foodlet in virtual Dardi. So I went upstairs and brought Krishnana. He came and sat at his feet. I also sat at his feet. Then he taught him Pallavi and Kamboji, Krishna Murare, Madhav Murare. I also learned that Pallavi along with T.N. Kerala. So there are many such incidents which are unforgettable. Once when I came back from school, he had just arrived and he was holding court on my father and many other important citizens were there to pay respects to my Guru. It was like an Acharya arriving in our family. It was like an Acharya arriving whenever he came. Right? Starting with father, and all the children, grandchildren, everybody will go and do pranams. So it was an occasion like that. So I came back from school and he said, sit down and sing. He said, sing Todi. And believe it or not, I sang Todi in front of Alepey Ramanujan Iyengar. If he came back today, I would dream of doing it. But at that age, you don't have any hesitation about this age. He said, sing Todi. I did. I sang Todi.
You will tell the same thing.
And he made some corrections. Gama khama padno, motha motaya padakudadu. And I sang Mandara Dhara and sang Swaras in this Charanam and asked him to complete. That was one occasion. Another occasion he taught me Tulasi Dala and asked me to bring a notebook and he wrote down the notation, which I am still preserving.
Oh wow.
There are many other occasions like that. Of course, GNB used to stay with us. He was a good friend of my father, Palghat Mani Iyer. There's a flood of memories.
So you was telling us some interesting anecdotes from your childhood.
So I learnt Malayalam in school because I was born in Kerala and I was schooled there. I learnt Sanskrit because I loved the language. I learnt Hindi because it was compulsory in Kerala. And I learnt Tamil because it was my mother tongue.
Okay.
But when I had to read the Grantha script notebooks of my Guru, it was a huge advantage that I was a Tamilan born and brought up in Kerala. Because by trial and error I found out that each character of the Grantham script is either a Tamil character or a Malayalam character.
Okay.
That is why I read these notations.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know Grantha script otherwise.
Ah.
I was able to do this because I knew about the language, both the scripts.
And how many such songs did you decodify?
Several, but some of them I did not carry forward into my overall repertoire and my concerts for certain reasons. For example, I came upon a song called Satatamu Bro in Todi. Is it something I never heard in Todi? I started learning it. Then it had phrases like Delhi Promonu, Darbar and all that, I gave it up. Then I found out that it was composed by my Guru's Guru, Iyengar, on the occasion of the coronation of King George V.
Wow, okay.
So I decided, why should I sing about King George V? I mean, we can talk about Mahatma Gandhi, why sing about Mahatma Gandhi? Why sing about George V? But it was not Narastuti. It was to commemorate the occasion. Iyengar composed this song. It's a prayer to God to protect the emperor in the interest of the people. But still, that had only the significance for those days. It is no longer relevant. So, I mean, there are many other things like that. Many national songs he used to sing during the independence movement. Ratiname, Gandhi Kaibam, and Vaishnav Janto. He sang in Gujarati in those days, 1920s. I mean, he was so forward-looking. He sang in all the South Indian languages and Hindi and Gujarati. He was a trailblazer. Bold, original thinking. Unimagined in those days. And most of what he sang is valid even today. Some themes have become out of date, like the, patriotic songs of... But most of the music that he sang is still valid even today, it's not outdated.
True.
That is how far-reaching his vision was.
We have already dived into the topic of your Guru and we have spoken. But tell us about that crucial moment or the crux when your life got a different turn. When did he accept you as his student?
I was in single-digit age.
Oh.
Because I was in my late teens when he passed away.
Okay.
But this grooming started much earlier. The grooming started when I was probably 3 or 4. Informal grooming started. He used to, because I was a very, very dear grandson in that sense. My father and KVN were in the position of sons, but I was in the position of a grandson. So the accessibility was always much greater. I had much greater access to him than either my father or KVN or any of the other disciples. Once we went to Coimbatore to listen to one concert, 2 concerts, Althur Brothers, T. N. Krishna, Palghat Mani Iyer, next day Ariyakudi, T. N. Krishna, Palghat Mani Iyer.
Oh.
So I sat through both the concerts. After the second concert, he came down from the stage and asked me, "Inniki enna photo pidicha? What did you grasp today from this concert?" So many wonderful memories.
And your other mentor you just mentioned, Palghat Mani Iyer, how did he take you under his wing and what all did you learn from him?
I learned so much. I learned that Laya is the bedrock of Carnatic music. His vision of Laya was so deep and so vast. He was a very ardent admirer of my Guru's music. And when he came upon me as a votary of his most admired style of music, he went all out. You know, he took me under his wing and he went all out to promote me. He spared no effort. He played several concerts for me of his own willingness. Concerts that he arranged and played for me. And then he told so many organizers, if you ask him to sing, I will come and play. So many places he said that. So many concerts happen here, there, everywhere. And most funnily, the organizers of the Sabha in Alleppey asked Tanjore Upendra, they are very keen that Palghat Mani Iyer should come to our Sabha. We want to felicitate him. It will be a great honor for us. But I believe he is accepting very few concerts these days. Can you help us? Will you please recommend to him? Or will you request him? My requesting him is all no use. I can give you one solution. If you invite the boy from your town, he will definitely come. And they invited me and he came. He came all the way from Bombay. He travelled all the way from Bombay to Alleppey by train and played a concert for me in Alleppey Sabha.
Idu bhagya vayya, how you can say.
I sometimes wonder, not sometimes, quite often I wonder whether I am the recipient of some special blessing from Subbaraya Shastri. Because Subbaraya Shastri was the son and disciple of Shama Shastri. And as if that is not enough good fortune for any one man, he was also a disciple of Thyagaraja. Similarly, as if being a disciple of Sri.Ariyakudi was not enough good fortune, I was mentored by Palghat Mani.
What more can one ask for? Similarly, you might not have faced it, but from many of the Sri.Ariyakudi disciples, his temperament is what comes in first. What was your experience with that? Was he a very tough taskmaster?
He was to elder disciples, not to me. I was the favorite grandson. So my father used to tell me, both of us were sitting behind him in a concert. My father would never ask him to sing this or that. He had never asked him. He had always kept their distance. But he used to instigate me. He asked him to sing Marubari. Ask him to sing Marubari. So he was singing Kama's Raga. So I did the Tata Tata. So he didn't allow himself to be interrupted. He flashed his Kamas as usual, finished it, and then turned around. You should sing only Marubari, don't sing something else, I said. No, that's what I'm going to sing. Whatever you want, I will sing.
Wow. I'm just trying to put that in one frame and then reimagine it. And how I wish that was on video today. We could have seen it. And also, you were talking, when you spoke, you said that your father and KVN were like sons to him. And there was one very big title that KVN sir would always give you, appreciate you. Why did he feel like that? What was your relation with KVN sir?
He was like an elder brother. In later years, I had many years of close association with him. He used to tell very ardent admirers of my Guru soon after he passed away. If you want to hear Sri.Ariyakudi reborn, don't listen to me. Go and listen to that body. That's what he used to say. He used to tell V Narayanaswamy, was such an ardent admirer of my Guru. After Ananthaswamy used to come to all my concerts, he used to invite me to perform there in Ramnakendra, and he became a big fan because he was so fanatically fond of my Guru's music. So for people like him and many others, it was like finding their treasure once again. Or someone has come along to uphold the Alleppey style. And even KVN says so. What do you want? KVN invited me to perform the Ariyakudi Trust in 1986. And I took that tambura, Guru's tambura for that concert and gave it to him. I wanted to tune it and give it to him. He did it. And then he enjoyed my concert thoroughly. And once the Thaniyatram was over, he went to the mic and said, "Iduna enga Annavoda varishi." He had that, he had that generosity to acknowledge. Sometimes I used to run into him somewhere in Mylapore, waiting in the bus stop and all that sort of thing. So I used to talk to him. "Mama, I want to come and get some items of repertoire, but you are so busy these days, so I didn't want to talk to you." No, don't bother about all that. Anna paathu paadravagittu namakku priyam jaasti. You come anytime. Don't hesitate. Anytime you want any repertoire, just come. And I've been fortunate to have been so closely associated with so many great musicians, especially my guru and mentor. What more can you ask for? The two greatest stars of the golden era, you are so close to them. One treated you as a grandson, another treated you as a son. What more can you want? I had many years of association with Palghat Mani. I had gone and stayed with him in Rishi Valley. I travelled with him. I was very close to him. I was like a son. I have participated in his Palghat Thyagaraja he was conducting in the last, sometime in the 70s, 2-3 years he conducted. So one year, Kevin and I sang together in the Shruthi with Manimamma playing the Kanjira. And then at the Aradhana, Arthu Srinivasa sang one Kriti. After that, I was asked to sing one Kriti. I sang Echarika Gara. T.K. Murthy Mama played the Mridangam and Manimamma played the Kanjira. These are all unforgettable experiences.
It's like goosebumps just thinking about all these. I just wish we could go and see them today. That one picture, one frame. And we've been talking so much at length about your music, and by now people would have decided, okay, he's finished his 10th standard and then gone off to sing. But your life says otherwise, and you're professionally the best qualified and musically the best qualified. How did this qualification of your CA come along? Were you always intended on becoming a CA, or? Sir,
you were saying something about golden spoon and silver spoon and all that. It's all very well. In the early years, I had that wonderful atmosphere growing up. In an atmosphere of music, great music. But in my middle teens, I lost my guru. When I was 24, I lost my father. When I was 29, I lost my mentor. So it was a lot of self-motivated effort and a lot of hard work on my part. I can claim to be pretty much self-made in both the professions, in that sense. With this great background, which was an advantage, I had to find my way up in both the professions, pretty much.
Wow. You were talking about investment. How did you invest time in these two parts separately? You have only the same thing.
That is always a challenge for them.
Especially when you're studying for
Continuous
nowadays 10th
balancing
standard we give music. We say we can't.
It's a continuous balancing act, no doubt about it. And for this generation, it's more of a challenge. Because the academic challenges have been becoming more and more demanding over the years. CA exam was always tough. But in the earliest stages, the schooling was not as tough in my generation as it is in the next generation. So, the thing is about finding time. If something is important enough for you, you will find the time. That is the bottom line. That is how it works, I think. It's just a question of how much passion you have. It is passion that makes the difference. It first separates the men from the boys, the women from the girls, and then the great from the good, and finally the greatest from the great.
True.
It is passion that does it all the way.
The finesse. It's very acquired. Coming back to music, what are your principles in Manodharma? Because nowadays, one is of course the duration of an alapa or the number of intervals which are there in one concert is one quantitative method of saying it. Qualitatively, nowadays we have seen a lot of drastic changes which have been happening in the alap, where it has been reduced to mere phrases and just joiners. What is your...
I have very deep convictions in the matter based on my exposure to some of the greatest minds in music. Manodharma is not something that happens overnight. Manodharma is not just about quantity. It is more about how you can deepen your insight into the graces of the raga. That can happen only through tapas. If you take Todi for example, there is one kind of Todi which is an endangered species today, the Todi of the Trinity.
Okay.
The Todi of the Trinity is an endangered species. And then there is another kind of so-called Todi, which is the Nayanabani Todi. The Nayanabani Todi, it is unrestrained Manodharma. Unrestrained in the sense that you can strike any note any which way you please. So that is always easier than what I prescribed for my students, because I given them a long list of do's and don'ts for Todi.
Okay. Can we have a short list here?
Oh, sure.
One of the things that we've been taught regarding singing pure Todi is the fact that the Rishabham, Gandharam, Devatam and Nishadam should never be sung without Gamaka.
Correct.
So, the swaras that Shruthi mentioned, they must always be sung with the Gamaka, and for 99% of the times, that 1% of the time, as our Guru has taught us, is in very rare situations like the Shyama Shastri Swarajati, where Shyama Shastri has handled it.
Or this the Sri Krishna. You find the plain Gandharam first, and in Kankana, you get a plain Gandharam. It's extremely rare. You're right.
And
So if you sing that way, you will be sticking to the Todi found in the compositions of the Trinity, which is the objective. That is the pristine Gayakabani Todi. The real Todi. There is no need to call it Gayakabani Todi. The other one we need to qualify it as Nayanabani Todi. But this is just Todi.
Another point that our Guru has made sure to instill in us is that we should never sing Todi in a way that there are hints of other ragams that come into the raga. So, for example, ragams like Dhenuka, Hindolam, Ahiri.
Dhanyasi.
Dhanyasi, Sindhu Bhairavi, holding the plain Nishadam gives a lot of Sindhu Bhairavi vibes. So that shouldn't come into actual Todi. So that is something that has been very strictly taught to us, and we'll definitely follow it in that manner.
And your students just gave us some tidbits on how you want them to sing Todi or the actual Todi. Coming to another aspect of Manodharma is Neraval. What are your thoughts on Neraval?
My mentor used to say that is the summit of Manodharma Sangeeta. Because it is the confluence of Sahitya Bhava, Raga Bhava and Laya Bhava, which no other aspect of Manodharma Sangeeta has. Neraval has it all, including Sahitya. Therefore, he used to say, if you sing too much of Kalpana Swaras, people will get bored. People will not easily get bored with Neraval if you sing it well. So he attached a lot of importance to that, made me practice Neraval quite a lot. He did that to Kevian also. And he groomed Kevian and Raghu. When they were in their teens, he used to tell Kevian, "Eppadi vasalam thalam podu theriyum." He used to tell Raghu, "Eppadi thalam podalum vasikka theriyum."
Okay. Beautiful. You were saying that people will not easily get bored of Neraval like Swara, but the musician will get easily exhausted in Neraval. It gets exhausted after 2-3 rounds.
No, that is precisely the point. You should develop your Manodharma in Neraval. It requires more practice and more imagination, because the rhythm is also built into it, unlike in Raga Alapana. So there is Laya and Raga Alapana also. I mean, you cannot sing Bilahari slow and Agri fast. So there is an inbuilt Laya and Raga Alapana as well. But Neraval patently has rhythm built into it. So it is not as if after 2 or 3 rounds, I mean, you can really get carried away singing Neraval. If you really get deep into it, you can go on and on. And it will not be boring like Kalpana Swaras. Because you had different things to offer.
True.
The Sahitya, the Raga, the mood of the Raga, then the rhythmic ins and outs that you introduce. There's so many points of interest in Neraval which you do not have in other aspects of Raga.
And coming to what is called the pinnacle of Manodharma, the Pallavi and the Tanam, what are your thoughts? And Neraval, do you say that only in the Pallavi the placement should be as such, or even otherwise in Kruti Neraval also they have to be in place? You can't push a little?
No, we can push a little, but not too much. See, maybe if you can at least keep segments intact, a quarter of an avarta intact, and the syllables within that avarta, I mean within that
Okay.
avarta, at least that quarter if you can maintain. I wouldn't go so far as to say it has to be exactly the way it is in the Kriti. Then there is no Neraval. And there is no Manodharma involved. So there should be displacements, but the displacements should be within reason. So that the structure of the Kriti is not forgot by the time you finish Neraval.
Okay. And sir, your thoughts on Pallavi?
It is the peaceful resistance. It really tests your mettle in different aspects of Manodharma. I have always enjoyed singing Pallavis. I have sung Pallavis in many of my concerts. I have sung Pallavi concerts also. I enjoyed all of them very much, because thanks to my close association with Palghat Mani Iyer, I became a Mridanga Premi. And not only that, I always had interest in rhythm. At age 9, I played in the second afternoon slot of the music academy. I played Katam. So my rhythm career started before my singing career started.
To whom was that you played Katam, sir?
I have played for Rama Krishnan. I have played for Navaratri Krishnan. In the music academy, I played for Rama in the second afternoon slot. Several others I have played Katam in those days. Then my guru told my father to take the Katam away from me because he is destined to be a singer. Samugri Mama also gave the same advice to my father. Please take the pot away from this boy, he is destined to be a singer. So that was that. At 12, I gave my first vocal concert.
Okay.
So I'm completing 60 years next year.
I don't know if it's too much to ask. Can you sing us one Mohara or Muktaya?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I've never heard you do that. I only heard Alapana Narval sir, but not a Taniyavartanam.
This is one chorway that my mentor used to play. The basic unit is sangeetham. Tatikkitakara. That is the basic unit.
Okay.
Tatikkitakara. Takadikkitakara. Takadikkitakara. Tatikkitakatagadikkitatum tadikitatum takadatum tadikitatum takadikitatum tadikitatum.
Wow.
Simple, sharp, and typical Palghat Mani Iyer chorway.
Yes.
So many of his chorways were so simple and crisp. You know, you can straight away figure out the structure of the chorway. There won't be any beating about the bush. Many of his chorways was like that.
This having said it, do you think in the Taniyavartanam portion as a mridangist or a Katam artist, to establish myself, I need to play something very complicated where the singer is not understanding where it's going to end? Or I can make such simple arrangements where they are simple yet sharp. What is your...
You see, to make simplicity profound, you need to be an Ariyakudi or a Palghat Mani Iyer.
Okay.
Chittamirangavillayo. DKPS. Taniyavatram. 3 ಅಕ್ಷರದಲ್ಲಿ ತನಿಯಾವರ್ತನ. Takadimbi, takajana, takadimbi, takajana, takadimbi, takajana, tadikkitakadaga, takatadikkitakadaga, takatikkatadinkitakachittabirangavillai. To make an impact with this very, very simple chorway, only he could have done it.
Yes.
It was said that when Bobby Fischer played that historic chess tournament in Reykjavik in Iceland, the first move of Bobby Fischer was either that of a genius or that of a beginner. So many things that my mentor used to do would be so simple, but if somebody else tried it, it would sound like kindergarten. When he did it, it came to us so profound. That was genius.
Everything he did was simple. But being simple is difficult.
Yes. Alepey Sir sang Tiruppavai for the National Archives in Bombay, NCPA. In Misra Jati Tripura Talam Tisra Nadai. And he was asked to play the Taniyavartanam. Anybody else would have been totally at sea. All of a sudden, Misra Jati Tripura Talam Tisra Nadai, Randa Vichla Nadali Adam. That's it. Randa Vichla Nadali Adam. You are not under Takridim, 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 This is an Adidalam Korui because Mitra Jati Tripura Tisra Nade Arvata Rakshana Another is an Ardali Edo. A Samatra Arvatana Lakshana Ella Alda Korean on the room. Makela Cardinal Katana Kapsa Palghat Mani Iyer. That was a genius.
And finally, coming to your concert experience, you have toured and you have performed everywhere in India, abroad. How is the experience different in India and in some other states or countries?
My first experience of people staying back for 4 hours, 4.5 hours to listen to a concert was in Delhi sometime in the 80s.
Okay.
We had a very good audience in Delhi in those days. When people in Madras started going home 2 hours there, but I had the same experience in USA. Of people driving for 10 hours just to listen to one concert.
Wow.
And staying, my first concert in the San Francisco Bay Area in '94. Concert started at 4:30 and it was getting on for 7 o'clock. And I said, what time do you want me to finish? Somebody shouted, midnight. That was the kind of listening that we used to get in USA those days. I have not recently gone to USA, but when I used to go in the 90s, that was the experience that I had. It was very gratifying that people were so eager to come and listen.
Wow.
And stay throughout, no matter whether you sang for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, they were there throughout.
And one more very rare thing what I saw was the rare Shiva compositions of Thyagaraja Swami, which you have brought out. Can you please give us a little insight as to how you got the book? And
some 7-8 years ago, a book came into my hands, which had been published in the 1960s, I think. And that is when I learnt about the Saptasthanam, these 7 Shiva temples in and around Tiruvayur. The most important of them being the Ayyappan temple in Tiruvayur itself, Pranatarthi and Dhammasamradhi. I learnt all about the way the deities from the other 6 Shiva temples come to Tiruvayur every year and the utsavas that happen there. Then I got interested. I did some research on this, and I wrote an article for the journal of the Music Academy also and the Shruthi magazine. And I taught some of those compositions to Shruthi and Anirudh, and I gave a concert consisting only of those compositions sometime.
4 years back.
Somewhere in Chennai.
Yes. RK Conventions.
Some of those clips are very nice, especially the Shruthi and the Shanmuga Priya. Shanmuga Priya. What is it? Like Shanmuga Priya?
Ni Parakram. Have you ever gone and sung them in the Saptasthana Utsavam, sir?
No, not yet.
So maybe we all can go together if sir is willing to.
We can do that.
Yes. I don't know. This is a very informal interview, I would say, and I have never felt this at ease with such a big Vidwan ever.
I have started to work on a new project.
Please, sir, please.
There is a Venkatesa Pancharatnam composed by Vikathana. And there is a Kalahasti Pancharatnam. Of these, the one song which has really been popular is Koniyadina and Kampani, sung by all two brothers. Most of the other songs have not been in circulation.
True.
So I started teaching those songs to Shruthi and Anirudh,
Oh, wow.
and they'll come out with them sometime.
Oh, I think we all are waiting for that.
Darbar, what is that Darbar I taught you?
Nivegati.
With the Chettaswaram and all that. In typical Venaku pair style.
I think that's what they also are telling you right now.
Which one?
Nivegati. So,
That is true. They are fond of me, they are respectful, but more importantly, they are loyal to the principles of music that I hold dear. That is what is very important.
that's good.
So I have great hopes in these two students to keep aloft the banner of my body.
Alepey. I think all of you can go through Sir's YouTube channel, Alepey Venkatesan, to find a recent magnum opus called Tapas, where you can find a lot of information of do's and don'ts, manodharma. Many aspects have been covered, and for people who are waiting for the right kind of guidance, I think that will give you a breakthrough. I sincerely request all of you to go through tapas and see that it is actually a tapas. And I don't know what to tell Sir when you're filled with emotions sometimes. My teacher once told me that after his concert, one of the audience members was so filled with emotion, he didn't know how to express it. He just came and just gave a press on his hand. That's it, he could not express it. So that way today I am overcome with my joy, and it is like a dream come true for me, because all these artists are only somebody's dream to be with, sit with, and have a chat with like this. And today for me it has come true. At least the part 1 has come true. So we have a lot more to learn from Sir, imbibe from Sir, listen. So I think today I will maybe give bow. Sir is sitting with us for the last 2.5 hours. So I think this is where we take leave, Sir. And I'm so happy that I could have such a wonderful conversation with you. Also munching on all the nice delicacies which Madam gave us. It's been a wonderful time. But none of your kacheri or peche kacheri can end without an Abhirami Andadi. That is like the jewel on the crown. Can we end this beautiful evening with an Abhirami Andadi? And from when did you actually adopt that? From the beginning, have you been singing it as a...
Abhirami Andadi?
Yes.
No. Soon after I started practice as a chartered accountant, one client brought his file to me, left it with me, and said he would come back the next week. He was from out of town. So he left the file with me, requested me to go through it, and he said he would come back next week. And I was going through the file, and a small book fell out of the file, and it was Abhirami Andadi. So I started reading it, I couldn't make it out, I left it. Then I went and bought 4-volume commentary of Kivaja and started reading the meaning of each, because I had not had a formal Tamil education. I learned to read Tamil because the music books are all in Tamil, and it's my mother tongue. Otherwise it was Malayalam and Sanskrit that I had learned. So I couldn't understand this Tamil. I bought these 4 books, read all the Vikathana and started understanding. But before that, this client came back. Since I couldn't understand anything, I gave the book back to him. Hey, this was in your file, I said. Sir, please don't give it back to me. It is one of the copies distributed by Parmacharya. It was destined to reach you. So please keep it. After that, I started reading it, couldn't understand. I bought the commentaries and started singing Abhirami Andadi. And of course, I am a Vaishnavite by birth and also a Devi worshipper by choice, both. And I have been making a musical offering to Kanyakumari every year for the past 45 years. At least once a year, I go there and sit in front of her and sing. Spend a few hours singing for her. So that is how it started. Then, of course, I used to sing Vadivudai Manikyamalai. I wanted to hear both my kids singing Vadivudai Manikyamalai.
Definitely.
Cheler viyarul tere, cheler viyarul tere,
adiyarul tittikum chempale
madura chempale. பனுவல் முடிமேலே விளங்கும் விளக்கே அருளொற்றி வித்தகனார் அருளொற்றி வித்தகனார் மாலே கொழும் மாலே கொழும் எழில்
வடிவுடை மாணிக்கமே மாணிக்கமே மாணிக்கமே
குயிலாயிருக்கும் கடம்படவியிதை கோலையில் மயிலாயிருக்கும் இமயாச்சலத்திடை வந்துதித்த வெயிலாயிருக்கும் விசும்பில் கமலத்தின் மீது அன்னமா கைலாயருக்கு அன்று இமவானளித்த கண்ணம் குழையே இமவானளித்த அன்று இமவானளித்த கண்ணம் குழையே கண்ணம் குழையே